Do y'all think that the better team won, or was this just a bad game?
They got a cloud hanging over their head.
You execute when you're supposed to execute, and we didn't do that. They were the better team in that game.
I was going to do this visual gag with things falling, but I wasn't really sure how well the camera would pick it up. But my point is, we might as well call this past weekend collapse weekend, because a ton of underdogs just couldn't get the job done, and some teams that thought they were contenders got exposed. We've got a lot to talk about and a special guest to interview who's a fan of a team that's on a red hot streak right now. So we'll go ahead and get that going. But first, let's check in with our two co-hosts. Matt, how's it going, my friend?
It's going. Tennessee, Kentucky, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I really would love to find some defensive secondary players that are healthy and can stop the pass, because giving up 5 touchdown passes to Kentucky hurt a lot. Yeah, it was something. But aside from that, I'm good, I guess. I'm wearing my Halloween costume. I decided to dress up as a piece of bubble gum today, so I figured that's what I was going for.
Nice. Jesse, how's it going?
I have several new gray hairs after Saturday. Fun fact, I went to the salon prior to the game. Turns out should have gone after, but I digress. I was on a flight during the Bama game. Okay, for work, right? Again, whatever. Had to schedule it then. On a flight, I land. I start getting text messages of faces, and not happy faces, but the face, right? And I'm like, well, obviously, I know what this is in reference to, so I'm just like, take off airplane mode, try to get ESPN up, and then I was like, oh my god, oh my god, and I watched the last 2 minutes of the game, sitting on the tarmac. And at the end of the game, I'm sitting on the window. I have like 2 people next to me. It's a full flight. I just go, oh, thank sweet Lord Jesus. And the people next to me just look at me, and I was like, fine. It's fine.
Then people thought you were getting ready to have some sort of emotional breakdown, which is fair, because as a Bama fan, and as an SEC fan, and this college football is all about the emotional breakdown.
And then I heard the person on the aisle go, oh, and I would just whip my head over, and they have their phone, and I see that they're watching the game, and they have on like a reddish colored shirt. And I was like, oh no. And I just look and I go, are you a Gamecocks fan? And they turn, they go, I'm a Georgia fan. And I said, oh. So, if you were on that flight to Houston, everything was fine. I was just in my feelings.
Well, we'll talk about those feelings and many more. Let's go ahead and talk about those games from last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, first we had Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Ole Miss winning this one 34-26. Matt gets the point here. Real gutsy performance by Ole Miss. This is Lane Kiffin's first road win against an AP ranked team during his tenure at Ole Miss. So, fun fact there.
Turn the corner. Lane's going to be a Hall of Fame coach now. He's done.
That's it.
This is the seal he had to break. He's done it. Congratulations.
It's all blue skies from here on out. Trinidad Chambliss continues to impress with his composure in a tough environment. So, Jesse, what were your thoughts on Ole Miss at Oklahoma?
I mean, this one was going to be a tough matchup. We knew that. We knew that if Mateer was going to be healthy and he was going to play, that these could be 2 relatively even matched teams. And I think we saw a really great game. I did not know the fact about Lane, so that's very interesting, because I would have thought that he would have had other.
I would have as well.
But I guess maybe just as a coordinator, again, third down continues to be a problem across the SEC. We have Ole Miss 9 for 21, and then we have Oklahoma 4 for 14. So you hate to see that. But I think overall, we're seeing an Ole Miss team that is putting together the right pieces. They're showing up when they need to, and they're putting together a really successful season. I think Oklahoma, again, very close, but I still don't feel like Mateer is at full capacity. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is, but it doesn't feel like he is. This one was an interesting one to watch. And I'm I'm excited for Ole Miss. I'm buying in on Ole Miss here.
Matt, you agree?
Uh, I think Ole Miss has the opportunities in front of them. They just got to they got to execute. I think that's been the kind of the theme for all these teams over the last 4 or 5 weeks is it comes down to execution. Oklahoma got real close. They tried to make a game out of this, but they just come up a little bit short. And a big part of that, I think, is the fact that Ole Miss offense was able to do what they did: 484 yards in the air and on the ground, plus 10 minutes on that differential as far as offense goes. No turnovers in this game, and especially when you're in a tough road environment like that. That's pretty big, especially for that. Speaking of Mateer, I still feel like we might have rushed him back a little quick.
Right.
I don't, and I understand, the quarterback position in the SEC is so important. You've got to have somebody in there that's going to be able to command the troops, be able to pull off the plays when you need them to pull back. And I just feel like 17 for 31 and a touchdown's pretty I don't want to use the word pedestrian, but it doesn't feel elite. And I think that's kind of the missing piece right now for Oklahoma is Mateer's just not there yet. If he was healthy, if it was the first, 5 weeks of the season, I mean, he was looking great. Like we were talking about maybe a potential Heisman campaign for Mateer, but I think since he had that injury, they rushed him back a little bit, and I think he should have recouped a little bit longer. But big win for Ole Miss. Lane's all the way up. Lane, if you're watching, come on the podcast. We would love to talk to you about your future Hall of Fame speech. Jesse can give you some pointers on public speaking. We can make it happen, man.
We can talk about yoga. It'd be very fun.
I'm not talking with the man about yoga. There's no chance of that. I think if I did yoga, I would not be able to get up off the floor again. My back would not be able to handle it.
Well, I'm sure we find something
By the
to
way,
talk about.
speaking of yoga, can we take a minute to talk about this? Why is hot yoga a thing? Like, yoga's already a thing, okay? It's already its own thing. But then you're going to crank the temperature in the room up to 106? Like, who does this voluntarily? Like, Jesse, put your hand down right now. Like, who pays money for this? Like, I drove by one of those places. I was going to T-Mobile the other day, and I drove by it, and I looked inside, and all of those people looked absolutely miserable. I'm convinced there's a level in hell somewhere that just is hot yoga.
Hot yoga.
It's very hard. Also, like when you're trying to do stuff on the mat, everything's sweaty. You just
See,
slip.
that's exactly my point. Now, goat yoga with the goats where they run around, like that, cat yoga, I'm down. I can handle that. Not doing hot yoga. Wes, let's move on.
Moving on to,
not.
I can't even remotely do a segue from that to this, but Auburn at Arkansas. Auburn winning this one 33-24. Matt was the only one to pick Auburn, so congrats, Matt. But just, again, so much potential for Arkansas, and they definitely could have won this game, but they turned it over 4 times in the fourth quarter. 3 interceptions and 1 fumble. It's incredibly difficult to win when you do that, obviously. For Auburn, they end a 4-game losing streak and get their first conference win. And they might have a little bit of a quarterback controversy now as Hugh Freeze elected to put in Ashton Daniels late in the first half and seemed to find a little bit of a spark there. So we'll see. Auburn's kicker, Alex McPherson, made 6 field goals, 36, 23, 43, 26, 47, and 37 yards. Ties a SEC single game record. This is Bobby Petrino's 3rd straight loss since taking over for Sam Pittman. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I think the big story of this game is the turnovers and that blowout in the second half. We've talked about Arkansas all season long about how they can't control the ball. They always seem to be turning it over. That has been the hallmark of that offense pretty much all season. Even before the Pittman hiring, it was still an issue. It was an issue during the Tennessee game. It was an issue this week. Like 4 turnovers is way too many. You can get by with 1 or 2. You're hurting and that's the other thing is like going into the second half. I mean, they have a 21-10 lead. Like they're in a pretty commanding spot to wrap this thing up and get back to the house. But then they get outscored 23-3 in the second half. Like that, like being down's rough. Getting outscored by 20 points is a disaster in the making. Like there's no getting around that. And if you're an Arkansas fan, you're probably not going to like it when I say this. I think a lot of that comes down to coaching. I think it comes down to coaching, a little bit of execution, but I think it's mostly coaching. Because if you're starting to see that wheel start to turn, the coaches have got to step in and do something about it. And it didn't look like the coaching staff did much. So here we are talking about Arkansas losing another game they probably should have won.
Jesse?
Yeah, this one's a tough one, right? I think some Auburn fans, at least the ones that I'm seeing, are a little bit almost a little sad that they won because they win. Hugh Freeze, it's Tuesday as we're recording. Hugh Freeze still has a job, and I think they got jealous of LSU and Brian Kelly getting fired. So sorry for that. I hope you guys are well. But it's an interesting stat that I saw as it relates to Auburn's defense. So coming into this game, Arkansas actually led the SEC in total offensive yards with 507.2. And they were actually ranked second in the nation by total offensive yards. But in this game, Auburn's defense actually held them to 331 offensive yards. And, that's 170-ish fewer than normal for them. And we already talked about it. They forced 4 turnovers. And then the Razorbacks were averaging about 37 points a game. They held them to just 24. So on the defensive side of the ball, Auburn had some good plays there. I think it will be interesting to see where they go with the quarterback position. But if you're a Razorback fan, this is devastating because they just keep coming so close and they just don't seal the deal. We've talked about it before. I don't think that there's a team in the SEC that has put together 4 full quarters necessarily. And certainly these teams did not this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to watch and see how that goes down. And it's disappointing doubly because Taylor Green is obviously this amazing athlete, but it just does. I don't know if y'all saw some of those interceptions, but some of them were just really bad, like just into like triple coverage, no hope of completing it. It's like he's trying to force it in there. So great athlete, but he's just going to have to lock that down if he wants to move it to the next level. But let's move to the next game. Alabama at South Carolina. Bama winning this one 29-22. I got the point here. Look, no shade to anybody. This is one of those several games on this day where a team could have pulled off the upset, but left a lot of opportunities out there. And you could say that all game long for South Carolina here. As you go along, they left many things out there, so they're going to be kicking themselves for a long time for sure for this one. But Jesse, go ahead and share your thoughts on this one.
I had so many. Number one, and I'm just going to say this at the top, and I mean, I'm coming from a good place. We all know that I don't like field rushing to begin with. I don't like anybody rushing the field. Okay.
They were getting ready to.
However,
Jesse's just butthurt because they've been rushed on like 4 times.
however, if you're going to rush the field,
Ooh, yeah.
let's make sure the clock is at 0. And I can say that because as a Bama fan, I've been personally victimized by 1 second left on a clock. Okay. I've been there. Don't do it. It's bad juju.
Did you talk to a lawyer about getting compensation for that?
No, I think we're still in a class action.
I think you should probably do that.
I told my wife when it was happening, I was like, all those fans are getting close to the edge and they're not going to be able to do this. This is not going to happen. I'm calling it right now.
You're just messing with the juju. I'm sorry. Don't do it. Maybe you learned a lesson and it was a valuable one because if you tempt fate, you're going to tempt you right back. But I was proud of Alabama. I think we don't talk enough about playing in Columbia and the fact that it is a tough environment to play in. It certainly is. I think most stadiums in the SEC are. Alabama showed up, and even though we were at a deficit, still were able to step up in the final minutes. And what a nerve-wracking final minutes they were. But we were able to be resilient in a hostile environment. I think we saw, and I've talked about it before, I want to get the rushing attack better. Just get it there. And we struggled in the run game. It was very inconsistent. We didn't get a lot of yardage in the first half. We did show some creativity with, big run game by Jeremy Bernard to kind of seal that game. But again, I'd like to have 4 complete quarters of a balanced offense between passing and rushing. Our defense stepped up. They were crucial, with an interception return for a touchdown in the first half, and a strip sack in the second half that kind of set up that winning drive. So defense was absolutely clutch in this. And there certainly were other offensive struggles. We didn't finish drives when we needed to. We had a lot of missed opportunities. But at the end of the day, Ty Simpson was able to make plays when it counted. Jeremy Bernard's last play was absolutely incredible. On the South Carolina side, I think Lenora Sellers is such a talented athlete. He's proved that he's a dual threat quarterback and he's a weapon on the field. And I just hate that he does not have an offensive line. Like, if I'm a South Carolina fan, I'm upset about that, because you have this talent and he's just not able to shine. And that's got to be really frustrating for him as well. They also put together a really strong, defensive effort. They held us for a long time and gave us a lot of problems. So kudos to them, because they kept us in check. And I will also say, like you said, Wes, they had a lot of opportunities and they had some late game mistakes. They had some costly errors. And, I already said, the fumble and that led to the game winning drive, but they made some mistakes, and that's something that they're going to have to clean up. And I think that comes down to coaching. I am, with everything that's going on in the SEC and just across college football and the carousel that's already started spinning at turbo speed, very interested to see if there's heat on Coach Beamer.
Matt, what do you think?
I'm shaking my head because if you're a South Carolina fan, you got to be like, no, not this season.
No.
Let's roll with what we got. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Listen, where was this Bama team last week when they played Tennessee? like for real, like,
Get a hangover.
And hangover games are a real thing. I stand by that. Seriously though, where was this Bama team when Tennessee played them last week? Because I didn't even notice this when I was looking through the stats, because I was at a wedding, so I only saw the tail end of this thing. Like, Jam Miller had 26 yards on 10 carries.
Yep.
Like, that was Bama's leading rusher.
Like, for real. Like, what are we even doing? Carolina had an opportunity that was covered in gold. All they had to do was get the ball within field goal range. They get the ball back with like 2 minutes left in the game. They run one play, and then the strip fumble, just a mess. You set up Bama with a really short field. They only have to go 38 yards at that point. I hate it when teams get an opportunity to get there, and then they just don't execute. And then you end up basically plattering, there's a win on a golden platter. By the way, did y'all see, I forget which player it was one of the Carolina players, was going in to make a tackle on that touchdown play and then peeled off and put his hands up to let him score?
Right.
All over Twitter this weekend has been people being like, well, he's in business for himself and he's just trying to, like, guys, he probably got told by the coach, if it's over 10 yards, let him score. We'll get the ball back with a chance.
Right. That's a smart play, because if he
tackles him, right. It's a business decision, but it's a business decision for the team. So
right.
I don't, again, tell me you don't watch much football without telling me you don't watch much football.
Oh yeah. It's just people who are looking for something, rage bait, all that good stuff.
Yes.
All right, let's move to Missouri at Vanderbilt. Vandy winning this one 17-10. Matt gets the point here. Look, this is Vandy's best start at 7-1 since 1941, when they started 8-1. It's also the first time they've won 7 games before November since 1915. So we're starting to shift from my granddad remembers when Vanderbilt was somewhat good to nobody was alive who remembers when Vanderbilt was this good. So like we're in kind of uncharted territory in some of these.
Yep.
3 wins have come against AP top 25 teams this season, which is a first in their program history. This game itself was obviously low-scoring, defense dominated, and all around difficult for those usually high-powered offenses that we've watched. Obviously, some of that is Bo Pribula went out of this game in the third quarter when he dislocated his ankle on a fourth and goal play. And then freshman Matt Zollers came in and played really well, throwing the touchdown pass that tied it at 10. But then CJ Hurd recovered a Missouri fumble, which set up the game winning drive, with Pavia scoring a touchdown on that one. And look, Missouri still had a chance to win this thing on a Hail Mary. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they executed it. The ball was caught, but it was a foot short. So, I
Mm.
mean, just what an ending to that game. I mean, obviously, you're on pins and needles if you're a fan of either of those teams. But Matt, let's start with you first. What were your thoughts on this one?
Remember how I said it in the pre-show before we got started. I said it to some colleagues at work today. I don't know what timeline we're in, but I need a shift. I need us to hit what I need you to get Tony Stark on the phone. I need you to open up a wormhole, get Doctor whatever his name is in here. Do something because this timeline is not. It's not the jam. It's not the move. I don't care for it. Who had Vanderbilt as a one-loss team going into November? If you did, raise your hand. Notice none of us raised our hands because none of us had Vanderbilt winning when only losing one game in going into November. There's no shot of that. The idea that the Tennessee Vanderbilt game at the end of the season might be a playoff play-in game has my head all aflutter. I just this does not make sense anymore. I don't understand anything anymore. But here's the kicker: I'm okay with it because the Vanderbilt story is a really good story. And I say that as someone that vehemently detests Vanderbilt. They're an in-state rival. I can't like them. There's no getting around that. But I can appreciate the story that's built up. This is a team that historically speaking, over the last, I don't know, 130 years that we've been playing college football, has gotten their crap pushed in every single week, pretty much. And now there's a chance, there's an outside chance they could be playing for an SEC championship come December. There's a shot there. They just have to win out and get a couple more things. I think a lot of this leans on Diego Pavia. He comes off as exceptionally cocky. Um,
I'm
like
sorry, but the
like
hat in the press conference that said "to turnt," I simply cannot.
Right, right. I wasn't gonna bring that up, but now that you mention it, yes. Like he's giving me Johnny Manziel vibes, and I'm not digging it. I'm not really digging that, but
Well, it's
I
giving
can.
Manziel.
It is giving Manziel vibes, but here's the thing: is he keeps finding ways to win ball games. Like he didn't have a stellar performance in this one. He went 10 for 19 with an interception, and he did sneak in the last touchdown which was the game winner. But man, just Vandy's not going to Vandy this year, I guess. They're just going to continue to do their thing. Makes me a little nervous to play them at the end of November. Um, and then Missouri went toe to toe with them. You know, like we sit here and talk bad about Drinky all the time. We talk about Missouri all the time, and it's just like these two teams look better than my team. Like what the heck is happening here? And I'm not okay with this. But this was a hard fought game between both these teams. I was really impressed. A lot of grit shown there, a lot of tenacity. Vanderbilt finds a way.
Jesse, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt hit it on the head. It was a hard fought victory. Obviously, Mizzou lost their starting quarterback to an ankle injury in the third quarter, but still got close to tying the game with that Hail Mary. But Vanderbilt overcame their season low offensive, output in this game. And they did have 8 penalties, but again, they still pulled it together and they won because we know that the Vanderbilt of old would have lost this game.
Absolutely.
There would have been no chance, even with the starting quarterback going out to injury in the third quarter. Vanderbilt of old does not win this, but apparently the new Vanderbilt wants to go to the CFP, and they're working towards it, which is wild.
Yep, it certainly is. So we'll see what they can do with that momentum going forward. Next is Texas at Mississippi State. Texas winning this one 45-38. Oh my gosh. I got the point. I was the only one to pick Texas. Look, State was ahead 38-21. with 12:29 left in this game.
We were rooting for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an absolute collapse. Come back to that word down the stretch for Mississippi State. They allowed a 79-yard punt return for a touchdown by Ryan Niblett, who did the same thing in Texas's victory against Kentucky last week. Arch had some good throws, but left the game in overtime with a concussion. So Matthew Caldwell comes off the bench and throws what would become the game-winning touchdown to Emmett Mosley. So here's a brutal stat if you're a State fan. In the last four games, all of them losses, Mississippi State has had three incredibly close losses. They lost by 7 in overtime to Tennessee. They lost by 2 to Florida, and they lost by 7 in overtime to Texas. So that's just a brutal stretch. You think of what could have been for State right now. They're playing well. I mean, they're in games. They just have had some bad luck and haven't been able to close those out. So on the flip side, Texas is won by 3 on the road against Kentucky in overtime, and then won by 7 on the road against Mississippi State in overtime here. So they've had a few close calls, the other way where they could have easily lost. So Jesse, let's start with you. What was your thoughts on this one?
Disappointment. That was my thought. My thought was disappointment. I was rooting for them.
Fair.
I picked Mississippi State. I think I was the only one to pick them, and obviously it was the wrong choice, but they had chances. They had chances. They had it put together. And I don't know what that final like ingredient is to get them to win these ball games, to actually close it out, to put it together and to get that W, because they are this close. I'm trying to figure out what that last little dash is that they need. And they've got to have some hope, but at some point you're just like, what's it going to take? Arch showed, some moxie when he needed to, but again, it's not the performance that I think everybody was hoping for, especially against the Mississippi State team that doesn't have the best record. This one was interesting. I think this was the game. And yes, I know that Texas won. Sure, fine, whatever. They won in overtime against Mississippi State, not to malign Mississippi State, but this was like a litmus test, I think, of where Texas is. And it ain't great. And I know, we'll talk to our friend later and hear what those at the other Texas university think about their friends in Burnt Orange. But I truly do think that this was the litmus test of where is this team? Because yes, they beat Oklahoma and like that was wild, but that was, I think, defense. This right here, I think, is showing us the state of Texas football right now, and it's concerning.
Yeah, for sure. Matt?
Just to talk about Texas for a second. I mean, they're 6-2. I mean, they're not dead, but they're pretty
No.
close to dead. But they've. I think that if we're looking at this outside of the way that we started off the season, if Texas comes in ranked like 12th or 15th or something, and they go 6-2, we're probably not having this conversation. It's
But the
probably
wins are giving me ick.
they are definitely giving the ick. They are not up to par of what we were anticipating from when you started at the number one spot at the beginning of the season. But again, if you needed more evidence about why preseason rankings mean absolutely jack and crap, there it is. That being said, you want to talk about an absolute offensive collapse? Like, you have an opportunity to ice this thing not once, not twice, but 3 different times. Mississippi State has to punt in the fourth quarter. Like they have all they got to do is get a couple first downs, string together a couple first downs. You can run the clock out and win this thing, and they can't get it done. And then after overtime starts, Texas comes out and scores, and you're like, okay, well now we got to score, and they go negative 31 yards in that overtime. Listen, this drive chart is nuts. On the last drive, incomplete pass, 5-yard penalty, 5-yard penalty, and then a fumble to end the game.
Yeah.
Like that's awful. That's a bad beat either way you cut it. And Mississippi State's got to be wondering, like, what do we got to do to win a ball game? What do we got to do to close these things out? Because they haven't been able to do it. They've been in within shooting distance of getting wins in the SEC this season, and every time they get close, something peters out. I don't want to say they're cursed, but it sure feels like that.
Yeah, it's difficult. Maybe all it's going to take is experience for these players to kind of maybe figure
I
out
think
that they can
in their
hang.
in their team fairly young too. I think most of their that might
Yeah,
have
well, and
something to
not
do with
only
it
that,
too.
but Mississippi State hasn't exactly been in the hunt lately. So a lot of this is, new territory for these players in terms of hanging with big teams. So sometimes you just got to prove it to yourself before you can get that confidence. So, all right, let's move to Tennessee at Kentucky. Tennessee winning this one 56 to 34. Jesse gets the point here. All I have on this game is Texas defense continues to or I'm sorry, Tennessee's defense continues to struggle, but with the offense firing on all cylinders like this, it really doesn't matter. So, Matt, what are
It,
your thoughts?
it does matter when you
In
play a
this
team
game,
that's
it
got
didn't
a
matter.
decent. In this game, it doesn't matter, but it
Yeah,
does matter when you play a team that has a competent defense,
right.
like what we saw last week against Bama, and what we're probably going to see when we play Vanderbilt. Like it's. Anyway, listen, 500 yards of offense. Oh, let me clap like Kirby does. Let me clap. So there's my clap. 500 yards of offense in this game. Love it. Fantastic. Love that so much. What I don't love is giving up 470 plus to a Kentucky team that has been, I don't want to say awful. Awful's not a strong enough word.
Cutter
Terrible.
Boley threw
No,
for five
no.
touchdowns.
I was getting to that.
It
Like
was dog water.
this is a Kentucky offense that has struggled to find their identity pretty much all season, and they got over 400 yards against Tennessee's defense. Not on the ground. Ground run game's okay. We can handle that. Linebacker core, defensive line is fantastic. Is really good. But the secondary is such a liability, and I keep talking about it every single week. And every Tennessee fan that watches the game goes, Jesus, our corners are not good. God, our safeties are not good. Like, we cannot do, like, we can't stop the pass to save our lives. Listen, you could put an anti-aircraft gun in the backfield, and they probably would throw for 300 yards. Like, there's no shot of us knocking down a pass, it seems like. God help you if Tennessee gets into a third and long. If it's a third and long and you got to convert on third and like 15, you're going to get it because the secondary can't stop nothing. Um, oh, it's just so frustrating. And I know the reason why it's happening is because both of our starting corners went down with injuries. Like, that's really what, although there's rumors Jamad McCoy might be back this week. So fingers crossed on that. But if we could get some help in the secondary, that'd be great. They're just too young, too inexperienced, and it's just like you said, like Kentucky's quarterback, who nobody knew their name if you were outside of the state of Kentucky, threw for 5 touchdowns against this defense. Like, it's insanity. It's insanity. Defense continues to be a liability. There's people all over Vol Twitter calling for Tim Banks to be fired. To which of those people I'd be like, hey, chill out. Let's get some kids back first. Then we can start talking about that. Like, let's not fire nobody. We're not firing anybody. We don't want anybody hired. We don't want to be fired. We just want to coach. Just let them coach.
We
Shut
want
up.
no
Sit
part
down.
of that carousel right
No,
now.
I don't want nothing to do with trying to go find coordinators right now.
That
Um,
carousel's a tilt-a-whirl right
it's
now.
it's a listen. It's like a tornado. You could put that thing in Oklahoma and send people running left and right. Um, Joey Aguilar continues to show why he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, not just the SEC. The fact that his name's not in contention for the Heisman again shows that the Heisman is a 25-pound piece of dog turd that means absolutely jack nothing. If Joey Aguilar was wearing crimson red, or if he was playing for Ohio State, or if he was one of them Bulldogs, or one of those, you better believe his name would be in contention for the Heisman. But because he wears orange and white, no shot. So I said my piece about that. I'm not going to say anything else. But the Heisman's a useless piece of trash. That said, 3 of our wide receivers got over 100 yards in this. I love that stat. That's a great stat. 3 of them with 100 over 100 yards. 2 of them had touchdowns. Big chunk plays on offense. You got to love it. The only complaint I have is Deshaun Bishop wasn't really a factor in this game. He didn't do a whole lot on the ground. But again, when you're throwing it through the air like they were against Kentucky, no one's really going to lean on the run. So I'll take that. But again, I think the big story of this game, and yes, we're happy we got a win. Yes, glad we got a win against Kentucky, which, by the way, bring back the beer barrel, please. It's time. That being said, the defense is a problem.
Yeah. For what it's worth, you mentioned Georgia being a favorite for Heisman. The last Georgia player to win the Heisman Trophy was Herschel Walker in
Don't
1982.
start that.
The
Don't,
only other
dude.
Georgia player to win the Heisman was
Wes.
Frank Sinkwich in 1942. So
Wes.
just
Okay,
throwing that
fine.
out
All
there.
right, fine. Yeah, okay, look, maybe I was speaking from a place of hatred there. It doesn't negate the fact that Carson Beck's name was in the mix last year,
Yeah, it was in the
and
mix.
then
Yeah,
in 22, Stetson Bennett was in the mix when. Never mind. I'm not going to start up because if I start going on about the
everybody
Heisman, like
knew Stetson wasn't going to win though.
we need an entire 30-minute interview with me just
Just
crap talking
crapping
the
on the
Heisman the
Heisman.
entire time. The entire time.
Well,
We could
we're
put
going to
that in a
put together
TikTok.
that highlight reel
Like
for you, Matt.
if you're look if you're come close. If you're in the New York Athletic Club, I need you to take that thing and throw it in the friggin' Hudson. It's not worth a damn thing. I've said my piece. If my mom's watching this, I'm sorry I cussed.
Matt's going to steal somebody's Heisman, not because he wants to sell it or make some money off of it, just so he
I
can
want
throw it in a river.
I want to take a ball peen hammer to that thing.
That's the next Heisman House commercial. It's just Matt breaking into it while they're on the Heisman road trip, and they're just all destroyed.
That's it. What happened? Matt happened.
I hate that stupid trophy so much.
All right, let's move to Texas A&M at LSU. A&M winning this one soundly, 49-25. Jesse gets the point here. For A&M, this is the most points against a ranked team, 49 points, since 2014. Obviously, this was just a beatdown, absolute domination on the line of scrimmage by A&M, as seen by, once again, LSU struggling to run the ball, getting only 60 yards on the ground compared to 224 by A&M. So obviously not even close there as to who won the line of scrimmage battle.
It's better than the -18 that Colorado had in their game this weekend.
Holy moly.
In the first half.
That's true.
Total offense. That's so bad. That's so bad.
Obviously, we've got more to talk about after this game, but real quick, Jesse, what were your thoughts on this one?
I think the only thing you need to know if you didn't watch this game is in the second half, about almost toward the end of the third, definitely the fourth quarter, when they panned through Death Valley.
That was not a good look.
No.
Of the purple and the gold. Also, during the game, when your fan base is actively and clearly shouting, fire Brian Kelly, and they have signs. They even have signs that say like Brian Kelly has to go with their like GEAUX.
Has to go.
That's so much extra work to write the word go, right? Like I'm not the only one that's tripping about that. Like GAU, like you're adding letters. Why?
Right.
We get it's the French way. I get it. I took the
Doesn't
language.
negate
I
the
got
fact it's extra effort.
That's really all you need to know, because I have not I tried to think about it, seen Death Valley that empty.
I have. When
Long.
Tennessee beat LSU at LSU in 22, it looked like that.
That's
the last time. But we didn't get a coach fired that weekend.
Yeah, I mean, and then of course the A&M players afterwards posting like TikToks and stuff that say like Death Valley is no longer scary.
Oh,
Yikes.
I missed that. That's
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I don't know if I'd be doing all that.
Y'all say what you want. That's fine. I still think it's scary. I'm gonna think it's scary because I also don't want to mess with the voodoo that exists there. Y'all touched on something you shouldn't have touched on. Just saying. That's all you need to know. Death Valley was empty before the game was over. That's all you need to know.
Matt, your thoughts on this one?
It's just happy trails to you. Poor Brian. He gets to collect all that money and sit on his butt. Anyway, I'm sure it's really, you can wipe up tears very effectively with $100 bills, by the way, or at least that's what I've been told. I'm a school teacher. I don't make that kind of money. Thank you, Wes. I'll be here all week. Make sure to tip your waitress.
I had to do that.
Push the lobster. It's about to turn. That being said, Um, you really want to know how this game operated. Like all you got to do is look at third down percentage. You want to talk about feast and famine when it comes to third down. Texas A&M had 70% of their third downs were converted for first downs. LSU had 17%. 17. Let me use both hands here. 17%. That's not good. You want to talk about a defense that just ate up everything LSU threw at them on Saturday. 10 tackle for losses, 7 sacks in this game. We were talking about Nussmeier as a dark horse candidate for the Heisman at the beginning of the year. What the hell happened? It's craziness. It's sheer craziness how LSU has done so poorly, so publicly over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Oh yeah.
And I think we said it like in week 2 or 3. Remember when Kelly was getting heated in the presser, and you're like, Brian, you need to stop. You need to knock that off. You gotta relax, bud. You gotta like all you're doing is cranking up the heat, and sure enough, off he drops.
Yep, and
They're
wasn't he?
dropping like flies.
He was even, perhaps this is too little, too late, and maybe another reason why Kelly got the boot, but he was replaced in favor of Van Buren, right? Michael Van Buren, Mississippi State transfer, came in to replace Nussmeier. I don't know. I mean, obviously they're just throwing stuff against the wall, see what sticks at that point, but still pretty wild. And in almost an exact replay of last week, this now brings us to an impromptu news segment.
Here's the news.
I mean, it's like this is 2 weeks in a row now where a bad game gets a coach fired. So
It's like, wait, hold on now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Because we lost.
Yeah.
We lost Pittman. He was the first one. That was 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, but yeah,
like it's happened multiple times in the last month.
right. Yes, yeah, for sure. So obviously Brian Kelly has been dismissed after this lopsided loss to Texas A&M. He finishes his tenure at LSU at 34-14, which is, it's okay. They never finished higher than 13th in the final CFP standings. So that's the big thing. No, they never made the playoffs with him.
No, the big thing is his buyout.
Well, yes, in terms of why he's being, but yeah.
Oh,
So, man, these lists just annoy me. But
I
possible
love how angry Wes gets anytime we talk about potential candidates for the job.
because it's so lazy. I feel like people just stack the same names on here. But possible candidates for LSU, we have Lane Kiffin, lazy to keep putting him on these lists. But then we have John Sumrall, Tulane, arguably the hottest name outside the Power Four. He's already in the state there, obviously. Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame. I don't know. I mean, he's spent his entire career in his home in Ohio or neighboring Indiana.
they just gonna keep going to Notre Dame to get a coach? What's happening?
That's another
Look,
thing. People are like, I don't know if they want to do that twice. This
and
might be
Marcus
just
and
repeating the same mistake.
Freeman's already told Florida and Penn State no thank you.
Right.
So I don't think he's going to say yes to LSU when he's already told
Probably.
those two programs no thanks.
Probably not. Another one, and this was, I think, from ESPN, where I got this list, but Brent Key from Georgia Tech coached Bama's offensive line under Saban from 2016 to 2018. So he's at least, familiar with the program. But I think it'd probably take a lot to get him away from Tech, given the success that he's had there and in getting that program kind of turned around. And then Eli Drinkwitz, Mizzou. Many believe that he could upgrade LSU's offense as he's done at Mizzou. And he has historically recruited well. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is there a name that's not on this list that you think would be good or better for LSU? What do y'all think?
I think they're gonna have to go to the NFL. I really do. I don't see a college coach that's gonna want to go. We've already seen LSU. They got rid of O. They've gotten rid of Kelly. I don't know the incentive for a coach that's doing well at a program to want to leave a decent, secure paycheck and go somewhere that's in turmoil, that there's a lot of pressure on. It doesn't make sense to me. And here's the thing. I don't know if we mentioned this, but Brian Kelly's buyout is $54 million.
Cool.
$54 million. The man is going to make like $800,000 a month. Insane. But Here's a fun little stat that this is just as of today, October 28th. FBS head football coaches fired this season. The amount of money owed to them total is $167.7 million.
I
Okay.
don't doubt it.
That's the 54 million for Kelly, 49 million for James Franklin, 21 million for Billy Napier, 15 million for Mike Gundy, 9.8 million owed to Sam Pittman, 6 million to Brent Pry of Virginia Tech, 5 million to Deshaun Foster from UCLA, 4 million to Trent Bray from Oregon State, 2.4 million to Trent Dilfer from UAB, and 1.5 million to Jay Norvell from Colorado State. That is just as of October, $167.7 million to not work.
College football head coach, easily the most lucrative position because
I
it doesn't even
just
matter if you're successful. You can
no,
be
I
a
just want to
terrible
be
coach
fired.
and then, yeah, you can lose all your games, get fired, and make millions to do nothing. I I don't know, Matt, do you have any thoughts on who would be
I
a good fit at LSU?
listen. I'm trying to figure out where LSU gets like. Look, we all. I think we all agreed that Brian Kelly was not the best hire when they hired him back in 2022.
He had
But let's
some
be
culture fit issues for
But
sure.
oh yeah, the whole roundabout camera and the Cajun accent that popped on for 30 seconds
Family.
in a
Oh,
family.
my
Yeah,
Lord.
but listen, I pulled this up on Wikipedia. By the way, somebody yelled at me on a TikTok about using Chat GPT last week. So now I'm using Wikipedia. You can complain about that too.
Well, that
Um,
was the joke anyways.
that exactly my point. This is actually decent reference. Brian Kelly went 31-11. He won 74% of his games. Okay, 0.738 is the actual number. Ed Ogeron went 51-20 and won 74% of his games.
Also got a
Let
natty.
less well, yeah, he did have that natty. Les Miles went 114-34 and won 77% of his games. And then going back to Nick Saban, he went 48-16 and won 75% of his games. So here's my question. What do you have to do to make the LSU alumni, fan base, and administration happy to secure that job for longer than a decade? Because it seems like if you aren't winning a national championship every other year, and if you're not at 85-90% of your wins, like where what are you supposed to do? Um, I will stand on it that they should have never fired Les Miles. I will stand on it that they never should have fired Ed Ogeron. Um, in fact, I think that maybe making the phone call back to Ed Ogeron to bring him back on would probably be a decent idea. The guy knows the program. He knows how to run things. It's a decent communal fit. The community probably be okay with it. I don't know. It just seems ill-advised because who are you going to go get? We've talked about this week in and week out. Like there's so many openings and nobody wants to go somewhere. And LSU fans, please forgive me for saying this. That seems a little toxic at the moment.
I
They're
think
they're not going to get the big splash hire, and I think,
No.
and we'll
And
hear
if you
it in
do, and even if you do, then you got to worry that if it's actually going to be a splash or if it's just a flash in the pan.
yeah,
'Cause
and you
if
got to pay them, and you're already paying a lot of money
Exactly.
for someone
Mhm.
not to work. I know LSU has the money. There's no concerns there, absolutely. But it's I think they got to go with not necessarily a no name, but you got to go with a quieter name. No big splash.
Mhm.
Just get the right fit. It doesn't have to be somebody that's like, wow, we just got like, I don't know, Mike Tomlin. Like just get somebody.
Go get like Ohio State's offensive coordinator or something
Yeah.
like that. That makes sense.
you guys are familiar with the term the main character syndrome. I feel like a lot of these colleges are that way these now where they just assume that well, I mean, we are like the best place to be. So everybody wants to be here, right? And our team is obviously the best. All we need is a good coach to guide us into that. And I mean, even with Georgia when they got Kirby, obviously he was not a huge name. I mean, he was a big coordinator, but he wasn't like, a splash. He was a obvious good culture fit because he was an alum. and that helps his passion for the university and things like that. So, and I know there's not a person like that for every school, because they're simply not available for every school. But I just think that this fallacy that every school just thinks that they're just this one splash higher away from a national championship. I mean, like sometimes maybe you just gotta, to borrow a brain rot term, you gotta let them cook. You know what I mean? Like, and they don't even let them do that. It's just it's kind of crazy. I mean, I wasn't a huge Brian Kelly fan, but I thought he did all right at LSU, and I thought he had them, you know, at least somewhat head in the right direction. They hit a rough patch this year, but I mean, to this point, to your
Yeah.
point, Matt, with the win percentages, he's done pretty good. So I don't know.
Well,
We'll see.
we have seen it time and time again that the Saban effect has been in full effect since about 2009, 2010. All of these SEC programs, and it's not just SEC programs because you see it in other conferences as well. Everybody is convinced they should be winning the national championship. Guys, it's hard to win the national championship. It's
Only
damn
one
near
team gets to do
impossible.
that
Right.
a year.
Like, and if you're a really good program, like I think Ohio State's going to probably go back to back this year. Georgia did back to back a couple years ago. Like that's rare. Like that doesn't happen like at all. And it's just everybody's convinced that they've got to win a natty next year. They got to win a natty this year. And it's be happy you and I say this as a Tennessee fan who's not real happy when Heupel does things that he does sometimes. But at the same time, I'm not looking to run the guy off because I know what it looks like when you
Hmm.
run off a successful coach and bring in somebody you think is going to be a big hire and it turns into nothing. Lane Kiffin left in the middle of the night with us, and then we wandered in the desert for another 15 years. Like, I don't know. It's just there's so much emphasis on win now, win the big thing, and just like you can't do it. It's not how that works.
Yeah. All right, let's do the pick'em standings real fast. I've got 29, Jesse has 27, Matt has 25. So I feel like we're getting kind of squished together. Our points.
I've had a lot of success last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
That's
as
helped.
I say, you've cut into that deficit for sure and are right there now. So, helmet stickers, real quick. Jesse, who are your helmet sticker recipients for this week?
Helmet sticker number one, the Lane Train, because they finally got their ranked opponent road win. So congratulations to Lane Kiffin and to Ole Miss there. And then this one, yeah, it's cheap. I don't care. I think it's funny, and you can come for me if you want. But my helmet sticker is going to go to the real heroes of Saturday, the security guards at Williams-Brice Stadium. Y'all were doing the Lord's work, keeping those people off the fields and saving them from further embarrassment. So
Matt, your helmet sticker recipients?
Go ahead and flash the sign, Wes. We need some sort of thing for Homer alert, like maybe a doll
Hmm.
or something. We need to find a way to put that in the soundboard. Homer alert on this one. I'm going to give my first helmet sticker to Tennessee's wide receiver core: Braylon Staley, Mike Matthews, Chris Brazzell. 3 players over 100 yards. I think 2 touchdowns between all 3 of them. Great day for them as far as that goes. Still not happy with that Tennessee defense, but I've groused about that enough. My second helmet sticker goes to C.J. Hurd, safety from Vanderbilt. Forced to recover the fumble that set up that game-winning drive for Vandy, so he gets one as well.
Cool. I've got Auburn's kicker, Alex McPherson. He made those 6 field goals, which ties an SEC single game record. Made even more incredible when you consider everything he's been through physically, mentally, emotionally. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look him up. It's a very inspirational story. They did a story on it on Game Day a few weeks ago.
Mm.
And then Marcel Reed, 12 for 21 percentage wise, not the best, but 2 touchdowns. He did throw those 2 picks, but then 13 carries for 108 yards. Just a true dual threat. 2 touchdowns in a huge game, a statement win against LSU. So, all right, that does it for last week. Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have our interview with Will Stone and talk about Texas A&M Aggie football. Well, we're excited to have Will Stone on the show once again. He is a Texas A&M fan, host of the Ineligibles podcast, which covers all things Texas A&M and college football, and contributor to Good Bull Hunting, which covers Aggie football, basketball, and baseball. Will, welcome back.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me. I enjoyed it last time, and I think with the way the season has gone for us so far, I think it'll be a pretty good episode.
I know. I will just kind of get right into it because I know you guys are flying high after that big win last weekend. But it looks like you guys got Brian Kelly fired, actually. So, what what were your thoughts on that game against LSU this past weekend?
Yeah, so I think we definitely played a part. I think that there were several factors. We maybe were definitely the most recent, and maybe the biggest factor there, with especially with the timing. You messaged me last week about how A&M had started strong, and you want me to come back on this week and talk about the Aggies. I gotta say, I was a little bit nervous that we were gonna be 7-1 sitting here today, and I have to come on and talk about a game that I didn't really enjoy watching.
To be fair,
But
seven
yeah,
and one would still be a really great start.
Still
So,
good.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the way some of our years have gone, I definitely would have taken that. But yeah, like watching that game, I mean, I think most Aggie fans would tell you that definitely one of the more satisfying wins of, you know, yeah, I think for me, like I kind of cut things up into like pre-SEC and SEC because that's when like I was in school when the move happened. Like pre-SEC feels like a different A&M team. So like I'm sure we had great wins over, Texas and Oklahoma and some big ones over Nebraska and things like that. But those are all before my time. And for me personally, with who it was, with where it was, at what time it was,
hmm
and all those other factors, and just kind of how it wasn't a one-off. In 2021 we beat Bama with Zach Calzada just playing the game of his life, and
Yep.
still finished 8-4. And this was, kind of it still wasn't even a complete game, but I think I told my brother at halftime, this is the first A&M team that I don't really worry about when we don't come out and play clean right away, which we did not. I mean, like first quarter was good. Second quarter, we have a bad snap. We snap the ball through the end, or they block the punt through the end zone for a safety. We throw two picks, but we're only down 18-14 on the road in Death Valley, and I'm like, you know what? Like, as long as we don't do that the rest of the game and make a bunch of mistakes, we're probably going to win. And I don't think I would have had that feeling about really any past A&M team, especially given the opponent and the environment. So, and I know that this obviously is not the best LSU team, uh, but they're still talented, and I think that environment, like their fans, definitely showed up at the start of the game and we're very much into it. I mean, they blocked that punt, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're going nuts down there. Like, yeah, our guys can't even hear the snap because we snapped the ball with Marcel not even looking at the like for the ball. So, um, but yeah, and to bounce back, I think it's a big theme that I'll probably get into and as we get into some of these questions. But this team doesn't blink. They've it's a very experienced team. They've kind of been through the fire a little bit. Um, they took some bumps and bruises last year, but with how they're playing now, I mean, it was uh, you know, against Notre Dame, they had some moments where uh, you know, it's kind of the same thing, and you go on the road against a top 10 team at night, and we had a punt block for a touchdown in like the first series. And I'm like, gosh, like that's so hard to come back from, and
right.
to throw two picks and to have another punt blocked, and still feel like, hey, like we're in this for sure. And then it played out the way it did in the second half. Just I thought it was just a physical ass kicking on both sides of the ball. And
hmm
I think I saw this today and I had to go back and check it for myself, but I think Marcel only completed one pass in the second half, which sounds crazy to even say that, but like he had a lot of scrambles. The running backs did, did a bunch of work. Obviously, KC the big punt return touchdown, and the one pass he completed was like a 40-yard screen for a touchdown. So, all in all, I mean, it felt really good to do that on a national stage because that's been a big uh, pain for us in the past is like we'll win some games and like have a good record and then play in front of the entire country and just not play our best
Right.
football. And
Yeah.
it felt good for, kind of uh, you know, the fourth quarter felt like an A&M infomercial from Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler. So
Right.
those videos of the Aggie fans and the band in Tiger Stadium, swaying, sawing them off. That's going to be on every hype video and every recruiting visit for the next
Sure.
10 years.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about Jimbo Fisher a lot on this show, and I know that probably seems like a fever dream to most A&M fans at this point, even though it wasn't that long ago. How does it feel to be this successful so soon after Jimbo got canned?
Yeah, I mean, I think A, it feels great. But
Hmm.
B, I mean, it's definitely a surprise to, I think a lot of our fans felt good about the team coming in, but we weren't thinking, you know, that like the playoff was guaranteed or that, uh, like I think like the 10 win mark is uh, a big focus for A&M fans because, that kind of guarantees you're in the playoff. But, I think after last year, even through the first 8 games, we're 7-1. We're leading through like the SEC with no SEC losses and control our own destiny. And then things just fall apart, in typical A&M fashion, through the month of November. And, yeah, like there's some injuries, but, also didn't play our best football, on either side of the ball. And, it just kind of fell apart. So, but I still caution A&M fans, like that was a step in the right direction to beat some of the teams that we beat, especially LSU last year at home. But even in the portal world, in the NIL world, it's not an instant thing. Like
Right.
you can't build a program and a championship team in a day. And I'm like, look, guys, I think Elko's a smart guy. I think he's a good coach. Let's not jump the gun and try to run him out of here because he went 8-5 his first year. Because we've had a lot of guys go 8-5 here, but for him to have us doing this well, I think like I've told our fans a lot, like let's just get to Penn State level first, which I know that's, I can't use that example anymore because of what happened there, but just beat the teams you're favored against, win 9 and 10 games each year, get to the playoff. And then I think the support from the donors and the fan base and all that kind of stuff, like you get to the playoff, it's gonna just pour into the program like it did when Johnny Manziel won the Heisman. So yeah, I'm thrilled for that and to see what he's building here and how we're doing so far.
Yeah, so in that vein, like, so what would you say in to kind of sum it up, what is different about this A&M team this year that has allowed them to take that next step towards being, not just a good team, but like a potentially great team?
I think it's a couple of things. I think for one, I think they're good on both sides of the ball. There's not a glaring weakness. Um, Even in some of our good years, we didn't have like there was some kind of weakness that we had. Like with Jimbo, especially it was the receiver room. Um, Going back to 2014, Jimbo has a horrible track record of receivers, and that carried over into A&M, and that spot was just a black hole for us. We had one guy drafted fifth rounder, Anaya Smith, after Jimbo's last season, but um, Elko got here and flipped that room immediately. Um, every recruit we had committed uh, at that position was let go basically immediately. Went and flipped 2 guys who you're seeing like those guys are making plays. Got some portal guys who are obviously have been huge successes. Um, but I think and you know it's a good offensive line. It's a we cover well in the secondary. We tackle well. We play sound football, um, and we win in different ways. I think we've seen every way you can win a game. A&M's done it this year. They've won a shootout. They've won an ugly game against Auburn. They've it got shootouty against Florida for a bit, and then they kind of had to grind it out in the fourth quarter a little bit. Same against Mississippi State, where they had to you know to try to control the clock and melt some clock off some time off the clock. But I think they just have a lot of resiliency, and even though they're not like the most talented football team in the country, they're very resilient. They play really hard, and they just kind of are learning how to win.
Yeah, so you mentioned Mike Elko, and obviously he has been a big instrument in lifting this team to that next level. What does he bring to the table as a coach that maybe previous coaches have not? Like, what do you notice about him that's just different than the previous coaches?
So it's really interesting following all of these uh, coaching searches, of which there are many, and there's going to be many more
Yeah.
throughout the rest of the season. Um, yeah, like going back to my splitting up between pre-SEC and SEC eras at A&M. Um, you know, I think once we had the big year with Johnny, um, our fans started to believe, and money poured in. We built a huge stadium. Support was just through the roof. We're like, hey, like we can't just be a good team. Like we can be a great team if we, if we support it the right way. And we just never had the right coach to really uh, maintain that success. Like I've said all along, or like I've said since we fired Jimbo, like I didn't want the big splashy hire. Like just give me an adult in the room. Kevin Sumlin, like he had some great moments. I mean, he's not a terrible football coach, but obviously had some personal demons, and his teams were soft, and we would get bullied. In October, November, in the Sumlin years. Jimbo, obviously, I don't need to get into that with much detail. Not what I would say an adult that was in charge of the program. Um, and there's just a lot, that I could say about that I don't need to rehash here. I'm sure you guys are aware.
Right.
But like we just needed a guy like Elko who's just a no nonsense football coach. He's like, look, you know, this is the way I do things. It's very, I think he's a smart coach. Like I said, he's very no nonsense. But he's got the blue collar, like, hey, like if we want something, we got to go work for it. And I think the personality of our university is very similar to that. Like it's very, substance over style. Some other programs, about 90 miles from us are more about the style than the substance.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
I think that, I'm like, that's how someone was. He was about the style, and Jimbo was supposed to be about the substance, really wasn't. I think Elko is true to that. And it's all about the work, and it's about ball. And, he's not going to recruit some kid, that's just a great athlete that doesn't care about football and only wants the money. And I think it's a great thing. So, there's a lot I could say about him, but between from what we've seen before and what we're seeing now, I think we do have an adult at the head of our football program, and I think we're seeing the results of that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely making an impact. Now, look, you've mentioned Johnny Manziel a couple of times. I know this may not be a fair question because his time at A&M is not done yet, but where does Marcel Reed rank in kind of that all-time list of A&M quarterbacks?
Yeah. So like if you look at A&M's quarterbacks, it's not exactly an illustrious list of NFL, Hall of Famers at that position. We've had some good players, and some guys have had some really good seasons. I think Gerard Johnson in 2010, um, or 2009 had a great season, but not a great career. Things kind of fizzled out. Ryan Tannehill was good in the NFL at times, but was just not very clutch at all. Um, that year, like we blew a bunch of second half leads, and uh, I think since Johnny, we've tried to like it's a big debate in our friend group is always like, oh, this is the best guy we've had since Johnny, and this is the best guy we've had since Johnny, and like none of them are that great, like it's just kind of a mixed bag, even though like six of those guys are still playing college football somehow at different schools, which is pretty funny. But I do want to give Kellen Mond some credit just for the he in 4 years he missed one snap with injury. Like he was just rock solid, um, and was a very calm, and steady presence. But I think Marcel is a dog. I think he's a playmaker, um, and he's got a great head on his shoulders. I'd put him second, for all intents and purposes. I think there's guys from the '90s that didn't need to do a whole lot. There was a lot of running the football. We had great defenses. Offense was not really our thing. Some older A&M vets would probably tell you about Kevin Murray, father of Kyler Murray,
Mhm.
that had some really, really great years here at A&M. But with, that was the Southwest Conference. Like you're beating up on Rice and U of H and TCU, and like that's all well and good. But what Marcel's doing, winning at Notre Dame, winning at LSU. We'll see if he can, cross Texas off his list later in this year. And then who knows how like he's not going to go to the NFL. Like he's going to be back next year. So, yeah, I think as of right now, I would put him second on that list of A&M quarterbacks.
Gotcha. Let's kind of get down to it here. We obviously the remaining schedule somewhat favorable. You got Mizzou. I mean, obviously that could be a challenge. South Carolina, Samford, and then Texas. Obviously, not what we were expecting from Texas this year. So, not getting too ahead of ourselves here, but in terms of a possible SEC championship game, which team in the SEC scares you the most as an A&M fan right now? Not necessarily just in terms of this team's good, but also in terms of the way A&M matches up against certain teams as well.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think A&M would match up pretty well against any of the ones that are still in contention. I think if Bo Perbula was healthy, I'd be very worried about Missouri. They like A&M, they're good on both sides of the football. They got great pass rushers. They got a great running game with Ahmad Hardy and some nice receivers as well. So, like they seem to be like a really complete football team. Although with the quarterback out, and I think the quarterback too got hurt in the first game, so they're down to a true freshman. Um, you know, it's hard to it's easy for an A&M fan to feel good about that game. But in terms of the Ole Miss, Georgia, Bama, it's probably going to be one of those teams we play. If we make it, it'd be one of those teams. Um, if Ole Miss had a defense, I might say them because I think Lacey's a great back. Um, Dual threat quarterbacks like Chambliss scared the crap out of me after we saw what Taylor Green did to us. Um, but if I got to pick, I got to say Alabama just because of um, I think with how Ty Simpson's playing, I think a quarterback that can be that precise in college is always going to scare you. And they got plenty of athletes at receiver. If they are all on the same page in a given day. I think that A&M could get after him a little bit with their defensive line. And I think our offensive line is one of the better ones in the country. So it'd be a great game, but I think if I'm looking for a matchup and a team that would scare me, um, I think it's Bama due to I think the coach who's had a lot of success at other places, but also the quarterback who's just really really accurate and knows like where to go with the football.
Oh yeah, yeah. Georgia, as a Georgia fan, I know exactly what you're talking about. So, um, consistency is so difficult these days, especially these days with all the opportunities for players to leave, et cetera. But what are you seeing from this program in these couple seasons that we've had with Elko, especially, that gives you confidence that they're going to be in contention again next year?
Yeah, I think if you told me the next 5 years, I would think next year is probably the worst team of the next 5 years.
Mm.
And that sounds crazy with when you're going to get guys like Marcel Reed, Mario Craver to come back. You're going to have three of your top five running backs back, and plenty of guys on defense. But this team this year it's got to be the oldest team in A&M history, and probably that we ever will have, just because of the amount of COVID seniors, especially on the offensive and defensive lines. There's not really any true freshmen that even get that many snaps, which is rare for us. Um, so I think it's tough to tell. Like, I think in a 12 team playoff, they definitely could contend next year. Just due to like having the quarterback back. I think they brought in some really good young talent, um, really just at every kind of spot. But it's going to be a young team next year. There's no doubt about it. But I think if something that would give me hope for that is just the structure that Elko's put in place with the assistant coaches. Obviously, the strength coach Tommy Moffitt, that was a big talking point this past weekend against LSU. You can see it in our players, the difference between you know this year's team and where we were the past 5 years, just from a physical standpoint. And so that's what I would say. Like I think Elko, he's done a good job of bringing in the right transfers, which it's tough to do that every single year, and it's hard to bet on. Oh, like these guys worked out, so the next ones that we get are all going to work out. Like it probably doesn't work that way. But I think when you're looking further down the road, 27, 28, 29, the recruiting has already picked up, and I think those teams will end up being more talented than this year's team. But this one is just so experienced and veteran and just kind of really good, but maybe not great at every spot.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that'll be something interesting to watch as the years unfold. That's all the particular questions that I had. Jesse or Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to ask Will?
I think my thing is, and I kind of talked about it last week, week before, it's all blurring together. Is we hear a lot in the news about, the Georgias, the Tennessees, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Michigans. We hear about them and we hear the hype. We haven't heard a lot of the hype around A&M until this week, right? Like we're seeing the videos of the guys on the plane and they're all having fun, but A&M feels like they've kind of been sneaking along in the background, just like head down, doing things. Um, why do you think they haven't gotten the hype this season yet until now?
Probably because their preseason ranking wasn't high enough. If
Mm-hmm.
if we were orange and white, and a different
Oh,
shade of orange,
okay. I was about to say, Will, whoa, chill out. Don't do that. Don't do that.
A burnt orange, if you will.
Yeah,
Thank
there you
you.
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Thank you. Glad we
yeah,
clarified.
yeah. If that were the case, and we had a popular last name at quarterback and like all those different things, then I think you
Shots
would have
fired.
seen that. But I mean, like at media days this year in the SEC, like we were under the radar then, and I was totally fine with that. Like, I like not being in everyone's news feed because my coach said something idiotic, like we were with Jimbo, just constantly, being in the media. So I'm definitely fine. I think our fan base has embraced, kind of playing the underdog. Like, yeah, like don't talk about us. We do better that way when we have no expectation to do well. So,
Yeah.
but I think we've also got to shrug that off and be like, look, you can't do that forever. At some point, someone's going to expect you to do something, and you got to perform. And you can't sit here and be like, "Oh, we're just the underdog, and no one thinks anything of us." Like, uh, I think you're right that it's been slow to kind of warm up to A&M. Like, and even now, like if Miami hadn't lost, they'd be like, "Oh, like everyone would have put them well ahead of us. We wouldn't have jumped them in the polls." Um, but I think it doesn't matter until the postseason, which I think we're going to be a part of. Which maybe next year we have the attention on us early in the year, but we just kind of like from Notre Dame until now, we didn't play like a big ranked opponent really. We just kind of grinded our way through some wins, and did our job. And didn't have an embarrassing moment because that would have brought the attention on us. And so probably a good thing we weren't getting talked about. But now it's picking up. Now you're seeing like, Marcel for Heisman. That's a whole different conversation. But the media push, and I think, like I said earlier, about playing on, the ABC night game with Herb Street on the call and getting those eyeballs on you and then playing well, that leads to more media conversation. And yeah, it's nice to be talked about in a nice way, and because my team is playing well and not because we did something stupid or, signed a good recruiting class.
Yep. You
Right.
talked about the postseason. Obviously, we talk about it all the time in the show. The rankings don't matter until the CFP rankings come out. It is what it is at this point. Um, is there any concern because thus far there's two ranked wins, right? And let's say you win the rest of the season out. Is there a concern going into a CFP playoff that this team may or may not have been fully tested yet? And then you're going to face the best of the best.
Is this just the first 12 games and not like the SEC title if we were to
Yeah.
get to that point? Okay. Yeah, I think and this may be an unpopular take here in SEC country, but I think Notre Dame's pretty good. That's actually a team that uh matchup wise, like I don't want to see them again to be quite honest. Like I'm sure Elko does not share that opinion. Like he's perfectly fine, playing anybody. But with those backs, that's I think if they had like a dual threat quarterback, I'd be, like very worried about that game if we were to see them again. But you're not entirely wrong. And I think there is maybe some uh, you know, like we're not playing like the best of the best, in the SEC, like the top. I mean, we dodge Bama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Um, that's probably four of the top six
Yeah.
teams in the league. I mean, or Oklahoma, even like they're decent. Um, and we'll see about Texas. But I think there's, from what we've seen from this team, like there's no really concern as long as we just, don't make a bunch of mistakes. Like I think playing the teams we played on the road and being able to get those wins, that gives us a lot of confidence in what this team can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying they
Yeah,
haven't
yeah, yeah.
tested. I just have to play devil's advocate and ask
Sure. Yeah,
just see. And it sounds like based on the videos from the players, they're ready to be tested.
I think
They
so.
want it. They're welcoming it. But that's what I had, Matt. I don't know if you had
Yeah.
any other
I,
questions.
only question I had was, Schadenfreude is a big part of being an SEC fan. So I wanted to ask, since how you brought up the folks a couple dozen miles away or so, how do you feel, with the just so much hype on Texas, so much hype on Manning, and our Texas fans are going to be upset when I say this, but they've come out and completely crapped the bed. Like they haven't really done anything. Like as an A&M fan, as a rival, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it feels awesome. I mean, this year is I mean, if you could have written the perfect script and read it to me back in August and be like, well, yeah, I'll take this 100 times out of 100. Like this,
Hmm.
like I'll pay for this to happen. Because like to be real, like they were really good the past 2 years. And they recruit really well. I think Sark is a good coach. Their defensive coordinator is a great coach. They put 25 players in the NFL over 2 years. And in some of the glimpses we saw from Arch Manning last year, like he played kind of good. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't awful. Um, but I'll tell you what, like the first play of the year for them against Ohio State, when I saw him throw a ball in the dirt, that was not supposed to go. Like it was supposed to be a, like a 15-yard out or whatever. I was like, oh, like maybe they're not good. And I know it's just one play, but throughout the season, we've kind of seen them, obviously not be what, definitely not number one team in the country, and they definitely, have plenty of warts. They somehow keep winning games, even though they get outplayed the past 2 weeks. I need Georgia, I need you guys to beat them. You play them in a couple weeks. I need
Yeah, yeah.
someone, and maybe it's Vanderbilt this week. Yeah,
See,
I
I'm very conflicted on that because I'm like Georgia winning over Texas. I'm pulling for Texas in that one. Vandy
And
against Texas. I may have to pull for Texas.
I'm trying not to talk too much smack against Texas right now because I was like, well, Georgia's still got to play them, so you know how everything
Tennessee
comes
ain't got to
back on
touch
you.
them, so I can say whatever I want.
So yeah. Oh
But
man.
yeah, no, I think there's it's not what I expected. But I think they're still a, a quality team. Um, but I mean it's weird that they keep winning. Like I mean, like the record's not bad. They beat Oklahoma. Couldn't tell you what happened in the Florida game. That's crazy to me that they lost that game the way they did. It just kind of got whipped. But yeah, that's the game that we're all looking forward to see. Like, okay, if we're for real, like then we'll go in there and just blast them in Austin. But I can't take that for granted until we see it because they are still a good team. And in college football, you just never know.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those rivalry games have a bad habit of spoiling really good seasons.
Yeah, they do.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been there, done that.
That they do. Well,
I still have the trauma from the 2001 LSU SEC championship. So I get it. I get it. I get it.
Will, we really appreciate you coming back on the show. But before we let you go, could you let everyone know where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, my handle is at Will Stone CFB on X. I do some writing for goodbullhunting.com, as you mentioned earlier, and I'm live every Wednesday night on the Ineligibles podcast on YouTube.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to seeing how A&M finishes the season. Lots of good games still left, and then likely an SEC championship after that. So we'll be
Fing-
watching.
Fingers crossed.
That's right. Cool,
Thanks,
man.
Will.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, Will.
All right. Thank you all.
All right. Well, that was great. I had a great conversation with Will, and we'll definitely be tracking to see how A&M does. Obviously, they're off to a blistering start, and we'll see how they finish out the season. So,
Will makes a solid point. Like when we were talking about Texas A&M, like I feel like Texas is in the rolls Georgia's in the Bentley, and then here comes Texas A&M in an old beat up F-150. They just get out of the truck, they take their hammer to people, and they get back in the truck and they go home. Like they're
Yeah.
very a kind of blue collar, no frills kind of team right now, and I kind of dig that as much as I still say it's a cult. But either way,
Right. I guess that's a separate discussion entirely. So, all right. Well, let's move to our upcoming games and make our picks.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right. First is number 9, Vanderbilt, 7-1, 3-1 in the SEC at number 20. Texas, 6-2, 3-1 in the SEC. That's noon on ABC. Matt, what is your prediction for this one?
ooh, this is going to be a tough one. I feel like Texas could find a way to get this thing done, but it's hard to pick against Vandy with how good they've looked. I like Vanderbilt here. Give me Vanderbilt. Sorry, doing my best Ed Ogeron impression. Give me Vanderbilt 27-20.
All right, yeah. Look, I know Texas is excited to be back in DKR, but I don't think that that'll be enough to save them from the role that Vanderbilt's on right now. Last week, not only did Texas have their struggles on offense, like we've seen for most of the year, but they really struggled on defense as well. So that doesn't bode well against a scrappy Vanderbilt team that feeds off the energy that Diego Pavia provides on the field. I'm going Vandy here, 24-17. Jesse, what you got?
Yeah, Texas got beat up by Mississippi State this past weekend, and Vanderbilt's on top, and they're pushing to make it into the CFP and make a name for themselves. So tough to pick against the Commodores. I'm going Vandy 28-24.
All right, next is number 5, Georgia, 6-1, 4-1 in the SEC versus Florida, 3-4, 2-2 in the SEC, 3:30 p.m. on ABC from Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. Unofficially, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. If you attend, Matt, what's your prediction for this one?
Still want to go on record as saying it's garbage that this is a neutral site game every year. That
Concur.
being said, this should be played between the hedges and in the swamp every other year. You're anyway. I'm not going to get into the detail. Yeah, UGA is definitely going to win this thing. I don't foresee Florida putting up much of a fight. In fact, I think the last touchdown Florida gets will probably be late against second and third string UGA defense. So I like UGA to win this thing big, 42-21.
Matt, I wish I had your confidence. So this wide receivers coach Billy Gonzalez is interim head coach for the Gators now. He originally came to Florida with Dan Mullen, left in 2022, and then returned when Billy Napier was hired in 2023. To me, this game just reeks of a trap game. We know DJ Lagway is talented. We know Jaden Baugh is one of the best backs in the country. They have a great wide receivers room. I could easily see this being another one of those games where Georgia's defense, which is bend and break, apparently lately, allows a ton of points early. I don't like this game one bit, but I'm going to go with Georgia in a close one here, UGA 31-28. Jesse, what you got?
Yeah, I usually am excited and could go either way on this game, regardless of what year it is, just because it is such a huge rivalry and the teams play each other really hard. This year, I'm not as convinced. I do think that there could be some early scores, but I do think in the second half that UGA pulls away with this game. So I'm going Bulldogs 38-17.
All right. Next is Mississippi State 4-4, 0-4 in the SEC at Arkansas, 2-6, 0-4 in the SEC. That's 4 p.m. on SEC Network. Matt, what you got?
Someone is walking out of this game with a damn SEC win. Somebody's going to do it. I think it's going to be Arkansas. It just Mississippi State can't put a game together to actually win one, and Arkansas has been kind of in that mix. I think they still have issues with turnovers in this game, but I think it's not going to be too much. I like Arkansas 27-26 here.
All right, yeah, Matt, you made a great point. One of these teams is going to get an SEC win. If Bobby Petrino wants any chance of retaining this head coaching job, he has to win this one, I think.
Yes, he does.
If Taylon Green can keep the turnovers under control, I think Arkansas wins. Even if maybe they have to overcome one or maybe two. I don't know. It's going to be a struggle, but I'm going Arkansas here, 35-31. Jesse?
I could have gone either way on this one, but ball security is a concern at Arkansas right now. And I think Mississippi State has just been so close the past couple weeks that maybe this week is their time to find out what that missing ingredient is. So I'm going to go Bulldogs in this one, in a really close one, 28-21.
Okay. Let's see. Next is South Carolina 3-5, 1-5 in the SEC at number 7, Ole Miss 7-1, 4-1 in the SEC. 7 o'clock on ESPN. Matt, what's your prediction for this one?
I'm shaking my head because I just don't feel like either one of these teams is. Let me rephrase that. I don't feel like these teams are close in talent level nor coaching level. In fact,
Uh-oh.
a little bit of a hot take on this. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but Beamer may get fired after this one.
Oh,
Oh my God. What?
could be one.
I think
that ugly of a loss.
I think there's a lot of frustration in Carolina, and I think they're probably thinking, you know what? Everybody else is firing their head coach. Let's get involved too.
Let's just jump on the bandwagon too.
Meanwhile, all the Auburn fans are sitting there like, what the heck do we got to do to get our guy fired? Listen, it's a trend. Trends are a big thing. If it was on TikTok, everybody'd be doing it tomorrow.
Coaching search is viral.
yes, viral coach search. I think Ole Miss wins this one pretty handedly, 30-17.
Yeah, obviously Ole Miss has a better team here. I think they just have to be careful not to just show up expecting to win. That's the danger here, I think. I like Ole Miss's offense, and South Carolina just doesn't have the firepower to keep up with them, which I hate to say because I think Lenora Sellers is a good quarterback. He just doesn't, as you mentioned, Jesse, earlier in the show, he just doesn't have that supporting cast he needs for them to be successful. So I'm going Ole Miss in this one, 35-21. Jesse?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident in the Rebels in this one. I think they do have to be careful, make sure that they don't go in with low expectations, but I think Ole Miss takes care of this one. So I'm going Rebels 35-24.
All right, next is Oklahoma, 6-2, 2-2 in the SEC at number 14. Tennessee, 6-2, 3-2 in the SEC, 7:30 on ABC. Matt, what's your prediction here?
Night game in Neyland, dark mode activated, revenge for the 2016 Baker Mayfield game. I think this has all the hallmarks of a Tennessee victory. So give me the Vols 38-28 in this one. I think that Tennessee's defensive line is going to be a bit of trouble for that Oklahoma run game and that Oklahoma quarterback.
And Heupel gets to host his old team here, so that'll be fun. Should be a fun one in Neyland. Oklahoma, for me, has just been Jekyll and Hyde a little bit this year, but they better figure it out in a hostile environment like this. So I do think a lot of points will be scored here, but I think Tennessee will pull it out in the end. So I'm going Tennessee here, 34-31. Jesse?
I think Tennessee cleans up some of those defensive mistakes that they had this past weekend. I think they're practicing hard. Especially because, like you mentioned, it's Heupel's alma mater. So there's just something a little special about that. So I am going to pick the Vols in this one as well, 31-24.
All right. And then finally, Kentucky, 2-5, 0-5 in the SEC at Auburn, 4-4, 1-4 in the SEC, 7:30 on SEC Network. Matt, what's your prediction for this one?
Kentucky had some success offensively this past week. And Auburn has been up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I think this is one of the down games. I'm picking Kentucky in this one, 28-21.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Kentucky's winless in the conference, and I think it's going to be tough to pick up that first win on the road at Auburn. We'll see what the quarterback situation for Auburn looks like, but I think Auburn's defense can keep Kentucky from scoring, too much and allow them to get the job done. So I'm going Auburn here, 28-17. Jesse?
Yeah, Auburn fans, I know that a loss here may help you in your quest to fire Hugh Freeze, but I just don't know that the team loses. I'm going to pick the Tigers in this one. I think their defense gets it done, and it's hard to pick against Auburn at Jordan-Hare at night, even though the vibes haven't quite been the same this season. So I'm going to pick Auburn 28-24.
All right. Well, that does it for the upcoming games. If you guys would like to contact us, please email us at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We are at Pigskins and Pageantry on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget, we are at PPSEC Podcast on X.
Twitter.
And we are available for download pretty much anywhere you can find your podcast on iPhone, Android, other operating systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, and review. 5 stars. We'd love that. Increase our chances to have wonderful conversations with people like yourselves. Until next time, it's going to be a test this weekend, I think, for the dogs. Go Dogs.
It's bye week, babies. But also remember, it is Halloween and our Lord and Savior Nick Saban's birthday on Friday. Happy birthday, Nick. We love you. Roll Tide.
What's this Wii thing? You got a mouse in your pocket. Hey, dark mode activated. Go Vols.
In Georgia, Florida, make the black and orange jersey combo happen. It's Halloween weekend. Come on.
Why are you going to bury my dark mode? That was really cool. I had that planned all the week.
We still saw it.
No.
Okay, we're
it's
out
too
of here.
late. The moment's gone. End the show.